Lagos heat bent the day into a curve of exhaustion. I stood at the iron gate of the Alade mansion with an apron in my tote, a first-class degree in sociology on my CV, and a father on blood thinners who still tried to stand for me. Zara Nnaji 23, overqualified, which is Lagos for hungry but proud. The foyer was cooler than truth. Marble, glass, quiet. A woman with a clipboard *anti-ronk flicked her eyes across my CV. Housekeeper slot. Live out, discretion mandatory, can you start now? My mouth said yes before pride could audition. She led me into a study where the city paused. Camel Alade **, mid-30s, sleeves rolled, attention like a spotlight that never begged applause. Billionaire, builder, headline. He looked at me like a person, not a vacancy. You're overqualified, he said. I'm overdetermined, I answered. Something softened. We can trial for 1 month, HR will handle payroll. House rules, no phones in private wings, no gossip, no selfies, no favours. Noted, I said, already mapping the kitchen in my head. Flour with flour, oils by Smoke Point, labels for aunties who cook like jazz. By evening, the pantry breathed order. I set a glass of water on his desk. He watched the condensation bead and asked, why housekeeping? My dad had a stroke. My little brother's school expelled him for fees, this pays. Silence unfurled. What's his name? Chimdi. He nodded once. Send HR the invoice, they'll settle his term. Heat climbed my throat, gratitude wrestling dignity. You can't buy my story with school fees. I'm not trying to buy it, he said evenly. I'm trying to rent your worry for a few months. I left with the apron on my arm and my composure in my mouth. Outside, Danfoes argued with the road. Inside me a quiet clicked. Competence is currency. I would earn my way out. That night I told Dad the job was temporary. He smiled the way men smile when they want to win your hope back from trouble. Temporary, that's how bridges start. I whispered a promise to my ceiling fan, 1 month *. Then I slept like someone who had put a small stone under an enormous door. Housekeeping is choreography. If you do it right, nobody claps. I woke the house with lemon and quiet. By noon, the pantry held labels so exact even an uncle could find star anise. Anti-ronk made a sound like approval disguised as threat. Keep it like this. After lunch, I saw the email I didn't ask for, tuition fee. HR had paid Chimdi's balance and backdated a receipt like magic you could audit. My heart sprinted and my pride tripped it. I marched to the study. Sir Camel, this is not part of my contract. He met my eyes. Return it if you want, but don't punish your brother for my generosity. I'll pay it back, I snapped. Good, he said unfazed, then we're both stubborn. I left, relief and annoyance holding hands. At home, Chimdi handed me a receipt as if it were a trophy. They said I can sit for exams. Dad hugged the paper like a child. Tell the man thank you. No, I said too fast. Tell God first. Later, while mopping, I knocked over a bucket. Water made the marble a liar. I braced for lecture. Instead, Camel appeared barefoot, folding his socks under one arm, grabbing a towel like this was a room in a normal life. Sir, please. Today I'm Camel, he said. We're both in Lagos, the floor can forgive us. We knelt, two strangers erasing evidence. The intimacy of parallel elbows did things to my pulse I refused to name. He passed me a dry towel. Our fingers didn't touch, my cheeks didn't listen. Zara, he said gently, you won't be punished for a flaw being a flaw. I'm used to being the person who is, I whispered, then wanted to eat the words. He swallowed something that looked like anger on my behalf. Not here. That night I transferred a first repayment, paltry symbolic, HR accepted with an auto-reply colder than soup. I cooked Dad fish stew and added more pepper than sense. He coughed and laughed. Your fire is showing. Good, I said, but my eyes strung for a reason that wasn't onions. Rumour travels by Keek. By Friday the staff WhatsApp buzzed, Bissy is back. I didn't know her but the house did. It exhaled like memory hurts. Photos online showed a woman with edges, charity board darling, once engaged to Camel before irreconcilable schedules. She arrived with orchids and a perfume that smelled like a lobby that dennies you on principle. Hello Ronk, she sang. Tell Camel I'm here. I'll check his calendar, Ronk said in the professional tone of women who have survived every version of rich. I was aligning cutlery when Bissy's reflection drifted behind me. New girl. Housekeeper, I said, clean word, honest job. You must love it, he's generous to those who serve well. The smile held sugar and glass. I serve the house, I replied, not the man. Her brows lifted, first surprise, then theatre. She drifted away in a silk exit. In the corridor the driver's call, CNN, a whisper warmed, Camel is rekindling. Someone added, the new housekeeper smiles too much. The story grew legs, it ran through WhatsApp like a thief. That evening Camel stood in the kitchen doorway, sleeves rolled, tie on the counter, restraint in his jaw. Did Bissy treat you fairly? I'm fine, I said, your past is fragrant. She is a good person, he said carefully, we are not a good idea. And me, the question jumped out and paid its own dowry. His mouth made a shape that wasn't a smile. You are an idea I'm not allowed to have. I nodded with dignity and then went to the laundry and cried quietly into towels. After I ironed them flat like penance, pride is a good starch. At home, Mum from the next compound sent Jollof with a note, eat before you faint while forming strong woman. I ate and laughed and saved the container. On my phone a message blinked from an unknown number, this is Camel. Please don't let the house hurt you, tell me if it does. I typed thank you and didn't send it. Then I did. Monday turned mean. A blogger who lives on scandal and soft focus waited at the staff gate, camera high, voice syrup. Zara Nnaji, cleaner to the stars, tell us, how does Camel taste, like old money or new shame? The question slapped, drivers turned, neighbours paused, my lungs forgot protocol. I learned that humiliation is heavier in daylight. Before I could speak, a black SUV slid between me and the lens. The window lowered. Camel, tie on, eyes winter. He stepped out with the calm of a man who buys storms at auction and returns them for a refund. No photographs, he said, you are trespassing. Public road, the blogger smirked. Private property line begins at that culvert, Camel replied, pointing with a lawyer's finger. Step back or meet my counsel. The lens wavered, he turned to me, voice low, are you okay? I will be, I said, wobbling toward composure. He escorted me inside, then gathered the household in the service hall. No one speaks to press, he said. No one circulates staff photos. Anyone who weaponizes rumor will meet HR first and unemployment second. Miss Nnaji will be treated with the respect her work deserves. Full stop. Someone clapped, small and brave. Ronk's chin lifted a centimeter, endorsement. He issued a bland public statement, boring in the right way, about privacy and respect for workers. I deleted my apps and boiled rice. That night a knock, Camel holding a modest pot like a peace offering. My mother's stew recipe, he said. May I? You're my boss, I said. I'm a neighbour with stew, he corrected. I let him in. We ate at my tiny table with our knees accidentally honest. He didn't touch me. He asked about Dad's meds and Chimdi's maths. I asked about insomnia and why rich men forget shade at markets. We laughed where it was safe. We were quiet where it mattered. If we were other people, he said finally, I would kiss you now. If we were, I whispered, I would let you. We were. He rinsed the pot, set it to dry, and left like a man who had learned discipline late and decided to keep it. When the door closed, I cried again, but softer. Relief is a language tears speak well. The rumour sprouted new heads. Aunties on Facebook posted sermons with my blurry face as illustration. At Chimdi's school a boy hissed, your sister is a billionaire's snack. He punched the boy and got suspended. Dad's blood pressure spiked. My phone became a forest fire. I walked into the study with my resignation letter ironed flat. Thank you for the month, I said. I need to protect my family. Camel read it like he was memorizing the fibers. If I accept this, he said, it's because you're choosing it, not because you're being pushed. I'm choosing it, I lied, because sometimes truth needs a head start. Okay, he said, pain disguised as administrative clarity. Ronk will process your dues. I'm grateful you lent the house your order. I turned to leave. He added, if anyone calls you from a number that sounds like guilt, send them to me. Outside, the mango tree didn't clap. The guards saluted me like people whose job is to keep doors but not feelings. On the Danfo, someone watched a clip of the blogger's taunts and laughed. I stared out at the traffic's theology. Stop, go, hope, repeat. At home, I found Dad folding my letter into a square. You're not leaving because you did wrong, he said. You're leaving because the world doesn't deserve you yet. It will. 2 days later, a brown envelope arrived. An offer letter not from housekeeping but from the *Alade Urban Foundation project coordinator. Salary triple, clear responsibilities, 2 signatures required for any expense, his and an independent CFO. A note, no more aprons, build cities with me. If the power dynamic feels wrong at any point, walk, I'll clap. I sat with the letter until the room understood me, then I called him. 1 condition, I said, my contract is public to your board, no secrets, and Ronk signs my time sheets. Done, he said without negotiating, welcome. I exhaled, dignity shook my hand, we went to work. The foundation's pilot project was a stubborn dream. An abandoned lot in Ajingbadi turned into a market with shade, clean water and stalls owned by women who had fought the street and won. I wrote budgets like love letters and fought for taps like manifestos. Camel argued for maintenance plans that survive Instagram. We met in the middle and shook hands like partners. Then a donor pulled out. She said, my audience is uncomfortable with controversy. Our audience is mothers, I replied. They're uncomfortable with thirst. She smiled like an apology that had expired. We lost 1/3 of the budget. Camel didn't lecture. He sold one of his cars and wired the gap. I knew because the CFO copied me by accident. I stormed into his office, anger wearing flats. You think we're a movie, I demanded. You can't bleed asset value to fix what gossip breaks. He winced. I didn't tell you because you'd stop me. I'm not playing hero, Zara. I'm paying rent on a city that made me rich. I breathed, counted to the end of my pride and started again. Next time we cut scope first. Smaller market, still honest. No one goes broke proving a point. He nodded, chastened, agreed. We reduced the plan without starving it. Fewer stalls, better drainage. We kept the shade, we kept the taps. We told the women the truth. They brought extra buckets and more faith. That night Dad gasped and folded over. The ward smelled like disinfectant and bargaining. I texted Camel, hospital, don't come. He came anyway, no conv, no noise, sat with aunties, fetched water, prayed in a corner like a man learning humility in a new language. On the way home, my mother said, if you marry him, I will still make him greet properly. Mummy, I choked. What? She shrugged. I'm old, not blind. Of all enemies, shame is the most theatrical. It arrived with Bissy at the foundation office, eyes softer, perfume quieter. I need to speak to Zara, she said, and Ronk, now my ally with clipboards, raised one eyebrow that said behave. We sat in a small conference room with bad art. Bissy's hands trembled. I fed the rumour, she said, not lacing it with excuse. I told a blogger you were too familiar. I did it because I am proud and I was afraid. It was ugly. My throat burned. In my mind I saw Chimdi's suspension letter and Dad's blood pressure reading and my own face on a stranger's timeline. I wanted to be righteous and I wanted to be small. I chose steady. Thank you for telling the truth, I said. I accept the apology. I won't pretend it didn't cost us, but I won't carry you like a stone. She blinked, tears, real ones. I thought marrying him would make me safe. He needed a partner. I wanted a pedestal. I'm learning. She stood, hesitated. I wrote a statement. I'll post it with your permission. You don't need my permission, I said. You needed your courage. You found it. After she left, Camel stepped in, eyes searching my face for damage. You okay? I'm tired of being brave, I confessed, but yes. He leaned on the doorframe, voice quiet. You didn't owe her forgiveness. I didn't give her forgiveness, I said. I gave her the chance to be forgiven by God and HR. He laughed despite himself, relief turning his shoulders human. Our market opens in 2 weeks, he said. You choosing your yes today made that possible. That night, I walked past the Suya stand outside the house and found him already there, cap low, pretending to be anonymous in a city that knows everybody. He offered a skewer like a question. This is where I become a person, I warned. And where I remember to be one, he answered. We ate on the curb in our fine clothes, wiping pepper oil with paper we didn't need to frame. He didn't touch me. He did something worse. He looked at me like a decision he had already made and would make again even if it cost him. Opening day tasted like clean water. The taps hissed, the drains obeyed rain, the stalls wore colour like argument. Women signed their leases with pens they held like inheritance. Chimdi cut the ribbon with more zeal than scissor. Dad sat in a plastic chair like a king who forgives easily. I stood in shade we had fought for and didn't cry until a little girl washed her hands and laughed. Camel stood behind me, respectful distance, shared gravity. Zara. I turned, he wasn't smiling exactly. I want to ask you something where our story started, after we close. At dusk we returned to the Suya curb, the place Rumour tried to steal and Grace returned to us. He cleared his throat, awkward for once. I don't want to be your employer, I don't want to be your saviour, I want to be your partner, in projects, in errands, in quiet. I'll sign any policy that keeps us honest. I'll sit with your father at clinics. I'll learn your mother's stew, marry me when you're ready, or say wait, I'll wait. You forgot the ring, I teased, voice wobbling. I brought where the ring should live, he said, tapping his chest. I laughed, then I exhaled a year of caution. Yes, I said, cheeks wet. But we'll be boring in the right places. Contract public, power dynamics audited, Ronk on speed dial. Done, he said without blinking. We didn't kiss. We pressed our foreheads together like people who intend to remain when kissing is ordinary. Lagos threw down a storm for our engagement shoot, umbrellas flipping, gutters applauding, photographers bargaining with weather. We hid under a market awning where our women counted change like psalms. This is better, Camel grinned. No filters, just rain and receipts. We danced badly to a hawker's tune. I stepped on his shoe, he pretended to die, aunties clapped. A child shouted, Uncle, marry her now, Camel bowed, working on it. Then came the last test. The donor who had left posted a think piece, when charity leaders date staff asterisk. It used our photo without permission and forgot our policies on purpose. Comments grew teeth. I drafted a response fueled by pepper and rage. Camel read it and said, perfect, send. He added his own letter, how power must be supervised, how love and dignity can coexist, how our governance worked asterisk because it was public, not secret. We posted receipts. The think piece looked suddenly underfed. At home, Mum fitted my jeel and said, if he ever forgets to wash plates, text me. Yes, Ma, he called from the kitchen where he was already washing. Dad took Camel aside and pressed our family Bible into his hands. I judge men by how they hold what matters, he said. Hold this girl like the spine is inside your palm. I will, Camel replied, voice halved by reverence. The night before the wedding, the Suya man gifted us an extra portion. For your honeymoon, he winked. We laughed till we cried. It felt holy. Rain softened to blessing. The city exhaled. We slept finally without bracing. We married in a small hall with big hearts. No influencers. Aunties were the influencers. They ululated like a choir with sandals. My dress was lace you could breathe in. Camel's suit looked like a promise that pays on time. The officiant said, love is patient, dignity is practical. We said asterisk I do in voices that sounded like good governance. Our vows were short. I will tell you the truth kindly. I will not confuse money with value. I will fight fairly and repair quickly. I will be boring where it protects us and bright where it feeds us. We kissed like a decision, not a performance. The hall clapped like rain on a zinc roof. After jollof and speeches, we slipped out, not to hide but to walk our market at night. The taps reflected moonlight, the drains hummed. Women counted end-of-day cash with tired joy. A girl I recognized from opening day tugged my dress. Auntie, see my hands. She painted her nails with cheap polish and pride. We went home to an apartment with more books than chairs. He hung his jacket next to my thrifted blazers. We cooked stew in a pot that would outlive arguments. He kissed my forehead like punctuation. I kissed his jaw like gratitude. We kept the light on. After the honeymoon badagry fried fish son we didn't waste, we returned to work. HR rolled its eyes and thanked us. Ronk ran our calendar like a traffic controller who refuses crashes. Bissy sent a donation with a note, for shade, women need it. We accepted with no theatre. Sometimes the internet remembers us. We answer once with receipts and a photo of running water. Mostly we build. When money tries to misbehave, we scold it into tap water and textbooks. When rumours knock, we are already at the market, too busy measuring gutters. At night when the generator hums and the city washes its face, we sit on the balcony and practice ordinary. Tuesday plantains, Thursday budget review, Sunday naps. We argue like people who intend to stay, specific apologies, real repair, no silent treatments. We kiss in kitchens, we save receipts, we keep faith. When people ask how a billionaire fell for his housekeeper and it didn't rot under the weight of gossip, I don't give them poetry. I give them our boring truth. We told the truth early. We stayed visible. We set rules. We invited oversight. We loved loudly but worked louder. And on some nights still, we go back to the curb in fine clothes and sit on plastic stools with Suya and Fanta, because dignity learned its name there. The Suya man shakes his head like a proud uncle. Lagos winks, we laugh. Then like people who finally own their hours, we go home. We sleep without bracing. We wake to build again.